Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Janavishmad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Asatasa Shri Shrimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Vanati Gaura Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Maya Purnavidam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories, Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, text number 10. Gandharva Yavanakrantam Kalakunyo Pamharditam Hatum Prachakrame Raja Tangpuring Anikamutaho Gandharva Yavanakrantam Kala Kanyo Pamarditam Hatung Prachakrame Raja Tangpurim Anikamataha Gandharva Yavanakrantam Kala Kanyo Pamarditam Hatung Prachakrame Raja Tangpurim Anikamataha Gandharva Yavanakrantam Gandharva Yavanakrantam Kalakunyo Pamarditam Hatum Prachakrame Raja Tampurim Anikamataha Gandharva Yavanakrantam Kalakunyo Pamarditam Gandharva by the Gandharva soldiers, Yavana and by the Yavana soldiers, Akrantam overcome, Kalakunya by Kalakunya, the daughter of time, Upamarditam being smashed, Hatum to give up, Pachakrame proceeded, Raja King Paranjana, Tam that, Purim the city, Anikamata unwilling. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. The city of King Pranjana was overcome by the Gandharva and Yavana soldiers, and although the king had no desire to leave the city, he was circumstantially forced to do so, for it was smashed by Kalakanya. Purport: the living entity, separated from the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, tries to enjoy this material world. He is given a chance to enjoy it in a particular type of body, beginning with the body of a Brahma down to that of the microbe. From the Vedic history of creation, we can understand that the first living creature was Lord Brahma, who created the 7 great sages and other Prajapatis to increase the universal population. Thus, every living entity, according to karma, his past desires and activities, gets a particular type of body, from that of Brahma to that of a microbe or germ in stool. Due to long association with a particular type of material body, and also due to the grace of Kalakanya and her Maya, one becomes overly attached to a material body, although it is the abode of pain. The abode of pain. Interesting, huh? Even if one tries to separate a worm from stool, the worm will be unwilling to leave. It will return to the stool. Similarly, a hog generally lives in a very filthy state, eating stool. But if one tries to separate it from its condition and give it a nice place, the hog will be unwilling. And Prabhupada tells that, or actually it's in the Bhagavatam, right? Lord Indra, he offended somebody and he became a hog. And he had his wife, hog, and little piglets. And management wasn't going on so well in heaven, so Lord Brahma came down and said, Indra, listen, I made arrangement, the curse has been lifted, now you can come back to heaven. And he says, heaven? What's heaven? You want me to leave my family? I got my family here, my wife and kids. You want me to leave this? And Lord Brahma can understand, wow, this Maya is very powerful. So then I think he arranged that they were all killed, and then he was suffering. He was all right, take me away. The material world, huh? Just like people, sometimes they're people in prison for like 30 years, and finally they get out of prison, and they're just so conditioned to being in prison they can't adjust, and they do a crime on purpose to go back to jail. Because it was just they just became so conditioned. Amazing, huh? Similarly, a hog generally lives in a very filthy state, eating stool, but if one tries to separate it from its condition and give it a nice place, the hog will be unwilling. In this way, if we study each and every living entity, we will find that he will defy offers of a more comfortable position. Although King Pranjana was attacked from all sides, he was unwilling to leave the city. In other words, the living entity, whatever his condition, does not want to give up the body, but he will be forced to give it up because, after all, this material body cannot exist forever. The living entity wishes to enjoy the material world in different ways, and therefore by nature's law he is allowed to transmigrate from one body to another, exactly as a person transmigrates from one body, from the body of an infant to a child, to a boy, to a youth, to a man. This process is constantly going on. At the last stage, when the gross body becomes old and invalid, the living entity is reluctant to give it up, despite the fact that it is no longer usable. Although material existence and the material body are not comfortable, why does the living entity not want to leave? As soon as one gets a material body, he has to work very hard to maintain it. He may engage in different fields of activity, but whatever the case, everyone has to work very hard to maintain the material body. Unfortunately, society has no information of the soul's transmigration. Because the living entity does not hope to enter the spiritual kingdom of eternal bliss, of eternal life, bliss, and knowledge, He wants to stick to his present body, even though it may be useless. Consequently, the greatest welfare activity in this material world is furthering of the Krishna consciousness movement. This movement is giving human society information about the kingdom of God. There is God, there is Krishna, and everyone can return to God and live eternally in bliss and knowledge. A Krishna conscious person is not afraid of giving up the body because his position is always eternal. A Krishna conscious person engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord eternally. Therefore, as long as he lives within the body, he is happy to engage in loving service to the Lord. And when he gives up the body, he is also permanently situated in the service of the Lord. The saintly devotees are always free and liberated, whereas the karmis who have no knowledge of spiritual life or the transcendental loving service of the Lord are very much afraid of giving up the rotten material body. The rotten material body. Om Jnana Timanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshram Malitamjena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Mukam Kotabhachalang Pongum Lang Haite Grim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shikaram Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The non-devotees, they don't want to die, to give up their body, because they don't know what's going to happen. They're scared, they don't know what's going to happen. They don't want to give it up. Prabhupada gives an example that sometimes people, they're walking their dog, yeah, and the dog quite often they stop and they smell things. At Balboa Park, it's just they bring so many dogs, like unbelievable, and they're always stopped. They're smelling. So the master lets them stop and smell, and then eventually they go, all right, come on. No, I want to smell. No, come on. So similarly, Prabhupada said that the living entity, they want to stay and enjoy, but the Yamadutta said, no, come on, no, come on. They're forced. They're forced to go. They have to, and they don't know where they're going. They have to, according to their karma, they have to get a certain body or certain situation. So they had their plans, but their plans have been foiled, and it's difficult to accept. Just like Prabhupada tells of one man, a wealthy man that Prabhupada knew, about 54, and he was dying, and he told the doctor, "Doctor, please, can you just give me 4 more years? If I could just have 4 more years, then I'll be able to fulfill my plans." No, not even 1 second. What to speak of 4 years? Your time is up. Your time is up. So, yeah. So, fortunately, we know that we're going to continue. And hopefully, we'll continue after this life on to the spiritual world. This is the goal, to go back to Krishna. And this is actually the most wonderful desire, to go back to Krishna and to serve Krishna in the spiritual world. Of course, it's a big challenge. When I joined this movement, I didn't know I was entering into such a great challenge. I like the Bhagavad Gita; it's nice philosophy, but yeah, it's a big challenge. So we have our plan, and Krishna, he has his plan. That's his plan. He actually comes here to help us go back to the spiritual world. He speaks the Bhagavad Gita, right? He sends his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, his appearance day is tomorrow, I believe, right? So he sends so many devotees. Lord Chaitanya himself comes in so many ways. He tries to help us. So this is his plan, that we get purified and we go back to the spiritual world. So if we help Krishna in his plan, then this is very auspicious. Very auspicious. And he says, Ya idang paramangu yang mad bhakte savadhashisi bhakti mayam param krita mamivaishyat yasangsaya. That anybody who teaches this Bhagavad Gita to my devotees, he says, is very dear to me. And there'll never be anyone more dear to me than that person. So that's a big hint. Krishna gives hints on how to please him the most. So this is a big hint. By going out and spreading this message of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna he's very pleased. And now we have a special time coming up that only comes up once a year. What is that? The marathon's coming up, the Prabhupada Marathon. And this will be the first time in our Krishna consciousness movement that we've had the Prabhupada Marathon during a pandemic. So let's see. But as we've seen, if someone is determined, then that doesn't get in the way. Vaisheshika Prabhu is just unbelievable. They're doing more now than they were doing before. So where there's a will, there's a way. So we have to rise to the occasion and try to have a nice Prabhupada marathon for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So this preaching is actually very important. Prabhupada would give great attention to distributing books. Of course, chanting Hare Krishna is also important, but he once said, there's the Bhajanandi and there's the Gostinandi. The Bhajanandi likes to chant. And the Gostinandi, he likes to preach. So Prabhupada said the best devotee is the Bhajanandi that likes to preach. And Prabhupada was like that. That's how the movement started. He was preaching, through the holy name. There in New York City, he was Thompson Square Park. He was chanting for hours, and he was elderly, and he already had a couple of heart attacks. So he liked to chant. Anybody know his favorite song? What? Hari Hari Vipale Janama Koinu. He liked to chant bhajan and liked to chant Hare Krishna, but he really liked to preach. So therefore, first class devotee. So we should also, follow in the footsteps, Prabhupada Nugas, and desire to preach this message. And not only is it good for the people who receive this knowledge, but it's good for us. I see when we go out and we preach, the philosophy comes alive. It comes alive because we have to, when we're out there preaching, you have to be Krishna conscious. There's a verse that I've recently been meditating on book distribution. It's really good. Labante Brahma Nirvana Risya Kshana Kamasa China Dvaita Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hitevrata. It's an amazing verse. That one who is free of the dualities that arise from doubt. Just that one statement there, who is free of the dualities that arise from doubt. Now if we're in dualities, then we're doubting. We doubt that Krishna's in control. Krishna's in control of everything. And if we think, oh, this is good, this is bad, then what we've we've forgotten that Krishna's in control. It's such a powerful, that one little sentence is so powerful. We have to understand that Krishna's in control. Whatever happens, it's good. It's a perfect arrangement of Krishna. Labante Brahmanirvan Risik Samakamasa, that whose mind is always engaged within, thinking of Krishna. Just like Prabhupada said, that this is our process is a no gap philosophy. No gaps, just Krishna, 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 and more Krishna. Now, of course, we're conditioned souls, so sometimes there might be some gaps, in our daily activities. So we should find out what those gaps are, and do something about it. Because we want to be fully Krishna conscious, right? That's why we're here. So Maya, she's good. She sneaks in. As conditioned souls, we allow Maya to kind of sneak in a little bit. So we have to remove those gaps and just somehow just try to be fully Krishna conscious. So Labante Brahmanirmana Risik Samakamasa China Dvaita Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hiterita, and that he was Sarvabhuta Hiterita. What is it? What is it, Dravida? He's always thinking of doing welfare activities for others. So this is, and he takes great pleasure in helping others. And therefore a devotee is paradukha dukhi. He sees others suffering, and it gives pain. In the material world, they're paradukha sukhi. They see others suffering, and it gives pleasure. And therefore it's such, this ultimate fighting and boxing and all these things. And also in high school, if there was a fight, everybody would throng to see see someone get hurt. It's like, but a devotee is completely. I see someone suffering, it gives pain. So we should pray to Krishna to be good devotees. That want to see others become devotees. This is the mood of a devotee. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stated by Sudama, the garland maker. He says that to Krishna. He says, Krishna, please, all I want is service to you. He actually prayed for three things: service to you, pure devotional service to you, friendship with your devotees, and compassion for all living entities. So this is that's such a beautiful prayer. Please give me devotion for you. This is what's most important. If we have devotion for Krishna, then we can have friendship with devotees and friendship with everybody. So many times in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that a devotee is a friend towards everyone. So it's very important that we try to see that everybody is a spirit soul. Everyone is part of Krishna. And when we're distributing books, we could have that mood that this person that I'm speaking to, you could have been a friend in the spiritual world. Who knows? Who knows? So everyone is part of Krishna. So to be a friend towards everyone, not only devotees, is very auspicious. And then to have compassion for the conditioned souls. People are suffering. They don't know they're suffering. They think everything is good, this is the mantra that I hear daily, probably hundreds of times. No, I'm good. But no, they don't know. We thought we were good too. But if they only knew the truth, how bad we are. So this knowledge that we're giving to people, this helps them understand that they're fallen, and that this knowledge will help them. It's like Prabhupada was saying that there's some religions that they say that, or they have their religious book in one hand, they have a sword in the other. If you don't take the book, then we're going to cut your head off. Some religion like that. But Prabhupada said, I don't need a material sword. This is the sword. Yeah. The book is the sword. And what does this sword do? It cuts the knot of material existence. This knowledge cuts the knot of material existence. So, therefore, this book distribution is so important. It cuts through the illusion. This guna means not. Guna also means the modes of nature. So, these gunas, these three modes of material nature, is very difficult to cut through them, to overcome these modes of nature. But this knowledge is so powerful, this sword of knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita, is so powerful that it can cut through and help us come to the reality. I'm not this body. I'm not the enjoyer. I'm not the proprietor. I'm the servant of Krishna. So this knowledge, it gives an exit to the material world. Just like when the people are on the plane, the stewardess, before the plane takes off, she's up there and she tells where the exits are, right? Just in case there's some accident. All right, this is where the exits are. So Krishna, he comes and tells us, shows us, how to exit the material world. And then the devotee comes and shows us how. How to exit. And Krishna is so kind that he comes as a devotee and shows us how to exit. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Perfect example of a devotee, completely Krishna conscious. So of course it's I guess it's easy for God to be Krishna conscious. He got an advantage there. So yeah, and Prabhupada came himself also to teach us how to practice Krishna consciousness, how to overcome these modes of material nature. So preaching is it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Prabhupada, one time a devotee said, Prabhupada, it's so difficult to preach. And Prabhupada said, when did I ever tell you it would be easy? It's not easy. They're in Maya, and we're also struggling with the modes of nature. It's not easy. But Krishna helps. He helps us. Like Prabhupada said, that you can hire a cook. Sometimes temple they hire cooks. You can hire a pujari. It's happening all over the movement now. As pujaris are being hired. But you can't hire a preacher. That's not possible. You can't hire a book distributor. Like I remember in Los Angeles, there was one person who was very favorable. He's a professional salesman. So he heard about us distributing books in the airport. So he came and asked me if he could give it a try. I'm a professional salesman. Can I go out and do some service, distribute some books? And he was out there with me for about an hour. Couldn't sell a book. 2 hours. Couldn't sell a book. And meanwhile, I'm going all around distributing books. And he couldn't figure it out. This is what I do. I'm a professional salesman, but no one's taken a book and given a donation. So he came and he said, Vijaya, why is that? I mean, why can't I? So I asked him, so did you chant any rounds before you came out? He said, oh yeah, I guess that would have helped, huh? Did you read any of Prabhupada's books before you came out? No. Yeah, well, see, this is the key. You want to distribute books, not only do you have to chant your round, you got to chant good rounds. And you got to read. This is what prepares you for this activity. What you're seeing is not very easy. Oh yeah, this is difficult. He was shocked. It was so difficult. So as Prabhupada said, purity is the force. The more we're connected to Krishna, the more Krishna, he helps us in this activity of book distribution. So it's interesting that in this purport, Prabhupada says that the goal is to further the activities of this Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So this is the mission. We want everybody to hear about Krishna. And it's interesting thing that happened in Australia. One devotee distributed a Bhagavad Gita to one Asian man. And about 3 days later, we received in the mail a check for $6,000 to further the Krishna consciousness movement. And the temple president told the devotee that distributed the book to him, the Bhagavad Gita, go and bring him some more books, just out of appreciation for what he's done, give him some more books. So he went to the house, the address was there on the letter, and he gave those books to him. But the parents weren't very favorable. He was a young man, maybe 23 or so, but he said, my parents aren't very favorable to this, so better if we connect, I should go to the temple rather than you come to me. He said, okay. So then, out of appreciation of receiving these books from the devotees, just out of their goodness, another letter was sent with $8,000 to further the Krishna consciousness movement. So the devotees sent a letter to him, please come to the temple, we have something for you. So they gave him all of, gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam, gave him the Chaitanya, gave him all Prabhupada's books, everything. Just they were the person so pious. He left another letter with another $8,000. So it ended up to like $26,000 altogether. What was the beginning? One paperback Bhagavad Gita. But what's really interesting is that the father found out that he gave all this money, and he came to the temple demanding the money back. The temple president wasn't there at the time, so he couldn't really, get to the point, with other devotees there. And then he had to go traveling. This father of this person who gave so many nice donations. When he was coming back from his travels, he got in a plane accident and died. So Krishna didn't appreciate his trying to stop this service from his son. So this happened maybe 25 years ago or something. Yeah. And this person became an initiated devotee. The one that was giving so many nice devotion, he became an initiated devotee. That's pretty rare for someone to get a book, give such nice donations, and then become an initiated devotee.
Pretty rare, like one.
That's pretty rare, like very rare. So, we want to help people in this way. Hear about Krishna, and it'll change their life. Now, people they're wasting the human form of life. As Prabhupada says in the purport that their life has become useless. Just like it's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, neha yakarma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate natirtapada seva jivan api mitohi saha. If one's work does not bring one to dharma, one's constitutional position, if one's dharma does not bring one to renunciation, and if one's renunciation does not bring one to devotional service, then one is considered to be dead, although breathing. In other words, useless. Just a dead body. Just a dead body if one doesn't engage in devotional service. So we're trying to give people an opportunity to wake up. To wake up. Engage in devotional service. Why serve this body? It was the Prabhupada says in the purport, a rotten bag. It's rotten. Is this a rotten? Is that what he said? Rotten bag or rotten body? What did he say specifically? Its body is it's just a bag, of just all kinds of obnoxious substances. So, but what is most important is the soul is there. So we're trying to connect people with the Supreme Soul, with Krishna. Then people's lives becomes useful. This human form of life becomes useful. It's an opportunity, to love Krishna again, to love God again. That is what is most important in the human form of life. Not just getting a lot of money and getting a nice house, getting a family. This is all temporary. It's all temporary. And it also brings frustration. I was talking to one person the other day. He was there with his wife, and he wanted a book, and he gave $5 for a big Bhagavad Gita, and I said, well, we try to get a little bit more. And then he looked at his wife and said, I would, but these wives are very, very. What did he say? They're very expensive. Yeah, they're very expensive. I said, oh, I know, they're very that's why I didn't get married. And then she took it lightly. She said, oh yeah, they're very expensive. She took it lightly. She knows. They're very expensive. So people are trying to make plans to enjoy this material world in so many ways. But what a waste of the human form of life. Yeah? Better try to act in a way that is pleasing to Krishna. Act for the enjoyment of Krishna. Then we're happy. As Prabhupada said, this material world is not a place of happiness. And when Vijaya Dasa, this is back in '67, when she heard that, she said, wow, no, actually it was Malati. She said, when I heard that, I thought, well, great, then I don't have to waste my time anymore trying to be happy in this world. It's not a place of happiness. It's a place of suffering. Tukalyam asasvatam, Krishna says. So why waste our time trying to find happiness in a place where it's a place of misery? Better utilize our time in trying to please Krishna, trying to understand how great Krishna is, how small we are, and try to serve Him. This will bring the happiness that we're looking for. I'll tell you one more book distribution story, which is amazing. There's one, this is back in the 70s, one young man got a BTG, and he took it home, and the family, his father was a big preacher, and this is in Los Angeles. The mother also, big Christian, so somehow she saw this BTG, Back to Godhead, and she asked her son, what is this? So she looked through it a little bit and said, well, this is not Christianity. She took it away and he never saw it again. But he had just read one paragraph, and he was impressed with that one paragraph. He just read, and then he just read that paragraph and set it down. That'll be interesting. But then the mother got it. He couldn't finish reading it. So later on, he got a book from another devotee, Science of Self-Realization, and he thought, I'm not going to let my parents see this one. So he read that, and he became convinced that Krishna's God. And but he made sure that the parents didn't. He kept the book under the pillow, so parents couldn't see the book. And then he became a devotee, very good devotee. Made a lot of devotees. Stamba. His father was a big preacher. So his father found out that he had become a Hare Krishna. And he got his, called the temple, found out, and he was able to connect to him. He's not talking to him on the phone. He said, son, you've been a Christian your whole life. You're a good Christian. How is it that you've given up Christianity? You've become a Hare Krishna. And Stamba said to him, Father, for the first time in my life, I'm feeling some love for God. And the father had some integrity. He said, then son, carry on. And I hope you have all success in fully developing your love for God. There was some integrity there, yeah. He was happy. He made so many devotees. Yeah. Big preacher. It's like it was in the blood, you know. So, Southern Baptist. His father was a Southern Baptist, big preacher. So yeah, that preaching blood was there, and he made so many devotees. So he was a Bhakti leader. Yeah, very, very good devotee. He's in Alachua now, I heard. So, yeah, he's still practicing in Alachua. Okay, so is there any questions or comments? Whoops. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki